So this next step deals with these rollers, okay? So you'll see these rollers in a little plastic bag. You're gonna wanna cut them out. And inside the bag, we have two white rolling balls. It'll roll around. You have two of these chassis that it lies in. And you also have 6 of these little rollers. So we're actually going to install these on the underside of the robot. So you see these 2 circles? That's where we're going to fit in 1 roller in each spot. So the best way to do this is to first take out your 6 rollers. Make sure I don't lose my ball over there. I have these 6 rollers, and as you can see, if you look closely, there's 3 spots where it'll fit right in. You have to make sure you put it in the right way. I'll show you what happens if you don't. So this is how you correctly install one of these rollers. If you put it in the other way, it won't fit in. So you gotta make sure that the 2 little knobs on the end go in the right spots. There's 2 little spots on each side of each roller spot. So I'm gonna plug it in, and it should kind of stay in. Like if I turn it upside down, it might come out, it might not. So it kind of fits in like that. It fits in if you just snap it in, like so. Okay, so now I have my 3 little roller pins in. So now what I could do is, I could take the ball, I'm gonna position it right on top, and then you can come down with one of these holders for it, come down over the top, and as you can see, let me just show you from this angle, there's 3 more slots in the frame for this ball, and there's 3 spots where this will click in, okay? So you're gonna wanna put the ball in, and then you wanna come down on top with this and just kind of snap it in. Okay, and then as you can see, now we have a successfully installed rolling ball on the bottom. And we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side here. So I'm gonna put in 3 rollers, 3 roller pins, whatever you wanna call them. I'm gonna make sure they're in the right way and that they kind of click in. So now those are installed. So I'm gonna put it on its back. I'm gonna take my ball, put it in there, and then I'm gonna come down on top with this holder until it clips in all 3 spots. So you might have to finagle with it a little bit until you can get it right, but you wanna make sure you hear 3 clicks, and you'll know that it's successfully installed. If they don't fall out, you're good to go on these rollers on the bottom. So I think it's a good time to open up this Raspberry Pi box. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it. And then what you'll find inside, just be very careful. If you slide it out, you'll see this is another board that we're gonna have to attach on top of the robot. So on the bottom of this Raspberry Pi, you'll see it's a two rows of 10 pins on the top here. So we're not gonna do this yet, but later on, we're gonna be punching those pins into these slots on the board, similar to how we did with the motor spikes. So the reason we're not gonna do this now is we need to install 4 standoffs to keep this motherboard elevated or to keep the Raspberry Pi elevated off of this main board. So that's the next step. We're gonna install the standoffs, and those are in the bag of screws that are also in this little plastic bag. So when you cut those out, I'll show you how to install the standoffs. I just want to point out what exactly is in this bag that you just open and cut. So here we have 4 screws. These are our 4 standoffs. So these are going to screw into the board and kind of serve as a platform for us to lower down the Raspberry Pi on, and it'll rest on. And that's what we're gonna use these screws to screw into. So on the top of each of these standoffs is kind of a screw hole. So that's where we're gonna screw in these screws. And then we have washers that are gonna help secure the screw connection from underneath. So what we're actually gonna need to do is take our robot, turn it upside down, and notice this, you'll see, it says Palalu, that's the brand for this robot. So this is actually the battery compartment, and we're gonna need to take that off to access the underneath side of the robot. So I'm gonna do that now, and I'll show you how. So there's 2 clips, one on each side of the bottom here. So you're gonna wanna push up on each clip and then lift, and the battery compartment will become open. So, but we're not gonna install the batteries yet because we need to install these standoffs. So we're gonna have to poke through a standoff right here, right above this these 20 holes in the rectangle here. We're gonna install a standoff here. We're gonna install a standoff here. We're gonna put one right here, and then we're also gonna put one right here on the underside of this 2 rows of 20 connectors, or however many it is. I guess it is 2 rows of 20, not 10 like I said before, but that doesn't really matter. So we're gonna flip this back around. When it comes to installing these standoffs, you wanna make sure you flip your robot in a way so that this bottom battery compartment, the smaller one, is on the bottom, and that the larger one, the larger square here, is on the top. And once you have it configured in that way, you're gonna identify this rectangle, this hexagon right here. So it'll be the 3rd from the right side. Okay, this corresponds to this hole on the other side of the main board, and that's where we're going to install our first standoff. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to put one of these washers into the hexagon, and then we're going to take a standoff, flip the robot around, and then screw it in from the top while using the washer on the backside to secure the connection. So the easiest way to do this is to take a washer, put it into the hexagon, and make sure it's the 3rd hexagon from the right when you're looking at the robot from this perspective. So mine keeps falling out because I'm trying to keep a camera angle that's good. So I'm gonna put it in the hole. I'm gonna take my standoff. I'm gonna go from the other side, okay? And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna take your thumb and kind of hold this washer in place as you do this. Because otherwise, and I'll show you what happens here, if I just push the standoff through the hole, it just pokes out the washer. And that's not what we want. We wanna screw it in. So I'm gonna put the washer back in, and then I'm gonna take my standoff again. I'm gonna secure it with my thumb. I'm gonna go from the other side of the hole. Okay, so as you can see on this side, I have my standoff in, and I'm gonna screw it in. And eventually, you'll feel it pushing on your thumb at the other side. And once that happens, you can let go and kind of scroll it over a little, and you wanna twist it until it's tight. So that is a tight connection. It's not gonna fall out. My standoff is successfully installed on the top here. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side over here. So we have the third hexagon from the left. We're gonna put a washer in. I'm gonna hold it with my thumb, and I'm gonna flip it around, okay? Now, I'm gonna take my standoff, and I'm gonna put it in the proper hole. Okay, I'll show you from this side now, since you got the last one I installed from the other perspective. And I'm just gonna turn it to the right, righty-tighty. And then once you feel it poke your finger on the other side, you can kind of slide your finger and then just keep twisting until it's tight. And when I say slide your finger, I mean go from completely covering the washer to just slightly, just the edge, because you want the end of the standoff to poke through. Okay, so now we've installed our 2 bottom side standoffs. They're secure in there. And now we're gonna install the top 2. So lastly on the agenda here is installing these top 2 standoffs. So I'm gonna point them out again. We're gonna install a standoff here, right above this set of 20 squares. And then we're gonna install one here right on the other side. They're in line together. What's tricky about these top installs is that we can't just go from the bottom, because if you look at the bottom here, there's no hexagon to put it into to where we could screw it in from the other side. So what we're actually gonna have to do is we're gonna have to do it all from the top here. So the best way to do this is to take one of your washers and then line it up, and I'll show you here. Line it up so that the hole of the washer lines up with the hole in the board. Okay, so once you kind of have it in that position, you can take your other hand, grab a standoff, and then screw it in the same way you did on the other side. It's just a little trickier because you're responsible for lining up the hole. There's no nice notch for it to fit in. But once you get it, you could start twisting it in the same way we did the other ones. And then it's the same deal as the other side. Once you feel it fit your finger, just slide it a little bit until it's nice and tight. Okay, so as you can see, that's what it looks like from the side. I was holding the washer with my finger. I screwed in the standoff until it poked through. So I'm gonna do it again on the other side. I'm gonna take a washer. I'm going to line it up with the hole. And you may drop it a few times, like I was not in a good position there. Just grab the washer again, try again. It's not a big deal. You'll fail a few times, right? You'll get it eventually. It's hard to get a good angle. I'm not gonna deny that. But once you get the angle and it's successfully lined up, you just take your standoff. Let me leverage myself a little better here. So I'm gonna take my standoff. Keep trying. All right, so now I have a good handle on this. My hole is in the right position, so I'm gonna come from the top here with my standoff, and I'm gonna twist. Turn it to the right, righty-tighty. And then once I feel the end of the screw end of the standoff hit my finger, I'm gonna slide my finger over, and I'm gonna keep screwing it in. Okay? And make sure it's nice and tight. And now you've successfully installed all 4 standoffs. This is definitely one of the trickiest parts. It'll take you a few tries to get especially for these top ones. It's a little tricky to line up the washer while screwing in the standoff, but you're all capable of it. Keep at it and you will succeed.